Survivor specialist John and McKenna are back, and we are doing yet another cast assessment. I bet everyone is either really happy or really sick of cast assessments, but on the specialist, this will be the first time we are talking about Rizzo and Savannah in a cast assessment. So, because Phil did it like as soon as the cast was announced, he was on that. So we didn't get a chance to talk about our 49ers. So John and I are doing it a bit different. We are doing it Survivor Rewind style. So we're really harking on their past games and how they should bring some of those aspects to 50 or maybe leave some of those things in the past. John, let's do this. Let's talk 50.
We actually got to talk 50 in like the present because it starts in 4 days. Like we are actually there. 50 is here. It is right around the corner. I am so excited. I cannot believe we get 3 hours of brand new Survivor this week. It's so exciting. I think like first, before we get going, McKenna, I just want to like acknowledge Mike Bloom with Parade and Dalton Ross with EW, because a lot of like this information that we have today that we can present to you today is because of their pregame press that they did. So really great to have such phenomenal beat writers for Survivor. That we can get to see what the players are thinking going in and how they are intending to approach the game.
This how is probably the most their past games and like how they're using it moving forward. So that's really going to be interesting.
This is probably one of the most extensive preseason content-wise that we've seen to actually have an idea of how these players are playing the game. So it's really nice to have that available to us to pull on, so that we're not just talking out of our ass like we sometimes do.
Yes, exactly. You mean our entire Australian Survivor cast assessment?
You know what? Some preseason content might have helped with that.
Well, are we ready to get started?
Yeah, let's talk about the cast of Survivor 50.
Alrighty. So yes, we have the cast of Survivor 50. We're gonna go over to the Sela tribe first, and kicking it off, we are talking with Jenna Lewis, my winner pick for season 50. I love Jenna. Borneo and All Stars, 8th and 3rd place. She says she wants to play the mom hardcore this time. We all knew that she was a single mother in Borneo and had 2 young girls, but she never played like the motherly role because she was younger. She's wanting to look naive at during the game. So like, oh, I'm from Borneo, pre-idol. I don't know how to do anything. And then she wants to use loyal players to slay the chaotic players. And so, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Jenna.
So Jenna obviously has our longest layoff between seasons on this season at 22 years since the last time we had Jenna on our screens. This is someone who played the game extremely young. She was 21 in Borneo, and then I guess that makes her 24 when she was playing All Stars. She's lived almost her entire life again since that time. So who knows what we're going to get with Jenna, but we do know Jenna is very in tune with the Survivor community. She might not be out there at events and everything like that, but she has kept up with this show and she understands the way the game has evolved over the years. And even when we say that, like if you look back at Jenna's Borneo game, she was probably the smartest game player on Pagong. She was the one who understood the game the most. She was the one who understood, hey, we need to form an alliance. She was literally told, that's not in the spirit of the game. We shouldn't do that, Jenna. When it turns out that's what wins the game.
Yeah.
And then comes into All Stars, is a huge proponent and pushes this idea of like, let's get the winners out of here. That's what we need to do. She has gone on record saying like, she didn't necessarily want to go after the winners, but it definitely seemed like the easiest thing to get numbers in line to do. So it was the way to push it that season. I don't know how she is going to approach this season. Like there are so many different things she can do. However, we also know that she can adapt to the game as necessary.
Yeah, I think she is really adaptable in the game and is ready to roll with the punches. So what we think she will keep and what we've heard through some of the interviews is she wants to kind of keep that winner slayer title a little bit. But she has come out and said that she does like Kyle, does like Savannah. So there might be some things with that. But ultimately, I think getting out the winners is a strategy proven to gain allies and numbers around you, especially that all the winners are on different tribes and they don't have, buddies from their season with them on the tribe. So, like, if Camilla was with Kyle on a tribe again, you might not be able to gain the numbers because there's Camilla maybe trying to keep Kyle for a shield later down the line.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But because the winners are separated and because they're separated from their kin, from their seasons, it makes it a little easy for them to be first targets. So, and that's something that Jenna could thrive on. And it is very similar to All-Stars, except All-Stars was weird and didn't put a winner on one tribe and put 2 winners on another tribe.
Yeah.
3 win? Wait.
Ethan and Tina were on the same
Ethan
tribe.
and Tina were on the same tribe. Jenna was on another tribe with Hatch. So there were 2 tribes with 2 winners, and then Chiboga had no winner.
Shapira, yeah. It had Sesternino.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jenna goes in. I am a little concerned that she goes too far away from the way she originally plays the game. She's a very forward player, and she's a very talkative player, which can get her in trouble. There are times where in both Borneo and All-Stars, players are a little, especially towards the later end of the game, are getting really annoyed with Jenna just because she's talking all the time. She
won that superlative of most annoying because she talks a lot. They wanted to send Jenna off with Dr. Sean for the merge decision because they wanted quiet around camp. So, that is one of her downsides, is talking too much, but she knows that and other people know that. So it's like they must seem okay with it because she was able to go through All-Stars all the way until the final 3 for being, quote, the most annoying and not being a GOAT.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing here is, and again, she's 22 years older. Like, she's so much more mature than she was the last time she played. I don't think she is going to be as talkative when it's not strategy-wise talking. I think she will still make connections with people. Like you said, McKenna, she really wants to play into this mom card. So she'll probably glom onto some of these new era players and try to be an older figure to them. The problem with that strategy, I think, in this game is that there are a lot of older players in the game. So it's hard to be the mom. But she kind of has this legacy mom vibe available to her, where she's not the oldest person on the cast by any means, but
because she was Borneo,
it's Borneo. There's this reverence to it, right? There's this idea you were here first. That is so cool. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some new era players be like, oh my God, this is Jenna. Although we do see a lot of new era players being like, wait, who's Jenna? So it'll be really interesting to see how she interacts with people early on in the game.
I think the first few days are really going to be where she either shines or we realize that she's not going to be long in the game. I think that's where her fate lies, is within that first few 1 to 2 tribal councils if she's going. So
one of the things that she mentions in her pregame press is using a Walkman while at Ponderosa.
CD player.
Yeah, a Walkman.
Yeah.
No,
Walkman is cassette tapes.
Well, okay. Well, they're the same.
I had a Walkman, even though you're older than me.
Walkman made CD players, okay? They existed. Some of us still remember that anti-skip technology, McKenna. but I just don't... It almost feels like she's going too far that way, where it's oh, look at me, I'm just using my CDs and stuff. And it's okay, Jenna, we're not going to be okay, Grandma, what are you doing? Because everyone expects you to use,
an MP3 player,
Yeah. Right? There's just... I don't know if that's going to play into this. I'm really interested to see if anyone on the island mentions the fact that they saw Jenna with this CD player beforehand and how that affects them. That being said, will Survivor ever acknowledge things that happen in Ponderosa pre-game? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But I have high hopes for Jenna. I don't think she's dead in the water. I don't think she's gonna wind up like a Wigglesworth where she's like, all right, you finally get back in the game and then nothing really happens. I think she's either going to be too bold or and that'll lead to her ouster, or she's going to fit right in and be able to play the game.
I am very hopeful for Jenna. I just want to know, McKenna, why do you have her as your winner pick? Like, what is speaking to you about Jenna being able to win this game?
So I listened to her interview with Mike Bloom, and I just think that interview like really sold me, aside from the fact that I do love Borneo. I love the old school seasons of Survivor, and if like the old school representation that we have here are not fully within my like cup of tea comfy realm, but Jenna is. Jenna is like just old school vibes, but with a new school brain. Like she I feel like she can be like that wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Jenna, she's the only person on the cast who's never played with an immunity idol.
Mhm.
So it'll be very interesting to see how she manages all these advantages in the game. But she did have the strategic mind back all the way in season 1 to approach the game and understand how it works. And she's an avid fan of this game. Like, there's been so much emphasis with Jeff's pregame press that like this is a cast who just wanted to be here for the sake of the game and who loved the game and just like wanted to celebrate it. So knowing that Jenna's back out here, I think she has a great chance. I really do. I don't mind her as a winner pick. I would be stoked to see someone like Jenna go far in the game. Wouldn't be surprised to see her go home early just because she's like not connecting with people or anything. But yeah, this is such a phenomenal pull for this cast to have someone like Jenna on the season. You needed the Borneo representation. You needed that in this season.
Exactly. All right, let's go on to our next castaway, and that is the one and only Cirie Fields. Ugh, I mean, her legacy speaks for itself, but Panama, Micronesia, Heroes versus Villains, Game Changers, 4th, 3rd, 17th, and 6th. And she basically said the beach vibes will dictate how she plays. Like, so if everybody on 50 gets to the beach and are just like, oh, we're gonna go crack a coconut and like, you know, kind of build the shelter, then that's what she's gonna do. But if everybody's like, all right, we're talking strategy, we're, you know, gaming day one, that's what she's gonna do. So I think that is a very smart read for her. But honestly, when we were talking about Cirie, we were just like, I don't know how she can change much, or like, I mean, or what is she keeping? She should keep a lot of what she already has brought to the game, because she's a predictable player in the sense of she's loyal. If you work with her, she will work with you, but she also has just an amazing brain for the game as well, and is able to navigate votes and things like that. So I don't know. She's either gonna get got because she's Cirie, or because she's Cirie, she's gonna make her way to the end.
It's so fascinating when you break down Cirie's game. It's like, what does Cirie need to change to her game? Well, the only time she's been voted out pre-merge was when she was idled out in Heroes versus Villains. She's made it to 4th and lost in fire making. She made it to 3rd in a surprise final 2. She made it to 6th and was the victim of advantage getting. And I think we would be kind of remiss, and we don't usually like talking about international versions of Survivor on the rewind, but we can't not mention the fact that she comes 4th in Australia versus the world, because I think that experience playing that game is really going to dictate her game this time around. Plus, she also played Big Brother in the meantime. She won the Traitor season 1. She was on Snake on the Grass. Like, Cirie is a staple of reality competition shows, and she's always successful. Like, to some extent, the fact that she was able to play a season of Big Brother with her son in the game and no one really realized it for the majority of the game is ridiculous. The fact that she wins the Traitors, and again, as a traitor, which is like, as we've seen in subsequent seasons of the Traitors, kind of hard to do. She is just such a phenomenal game player, and she has this warm approach to her where she's so easy just to talk to and become engulfed in her aura. you see the pregame press for this season, you have a few people being like, yeah, Sari's dangerous, but you don't really have people like, I am gunning for Sari. Sari is someone I need to get out. In fact, there's a lot more surprising, like, I want to take Sari like as far as I can in the game.
Yeah. Well, because she is such a good ally and the way she thinks through votes is really beneficial for you if you're working with her. And then hopefully you can either find a way to get her out because she's probably not winning a challenge, or the game will just poof her out of existence. Like Survivor's just going to do something and it's just like, oh, Sari, no, this is as far as you get. But
you're looking for the victim of the Billie Eilish boomerang idol? It's probably going to be Sari. Let's be real.
Well, she'll get out and then comes back in again.
Oh, is that how that works?
Boomerang.
Of course.
So I think the only thing that when talking about Sari and Survivor is she doesn't really hold any advantages or idols, and those seem to be what gets her out of the game. So maybe this time she tries to dabble a little bit into that realm of Survivor because her social game is on lock. There's no need to adjust anything there. But maybe if she had a little leverage in her pocket, she'd be able to do something when advantage getting does come up and she's now not the victim of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that she has to do for game. But that being said, she plays such a social game, she doesn't need to rely on advantages, which is
she doesn't need to rely on them, but it just might help.
It's just knowing where they are. I think it would behoove Sari to try to get advantages out of the game as early as possible.
Right.
Right? Like, yes, find friends, but like, I don't think she's going to go into a situation like in Game Changers where she could just go out, right? And the people who are talking about wanting to work with her, right? Like Ozzy's like, no, I need to be friends with Sari. Sari is someone I need to be like best friends, which is a question mark people had going into the season. It's like, what are Sari and Ozzy going to be like? Stephanie, who like there was a major rumor that Stephanie was pre-gaming hard to make sure Sari goes out early, but Stephanie's like, no, I need to work with Sari. Like Sari is someone who I know I can trust in this game. As St. Cliffo says here, like Christian wants to take her to final tribal council. Could anyone beat Sari in a final tribal council? Is that possible?
Christian is such a fan that he was just like, I want to sit next to Sari because she is Sari, and if I beat her, great. But if I don't, then Sari gets her win.
But I think like what it really comes down to is Sari is someone that is easy. Like again, Amanda and Parvati took her to final 3 in Micronesia. Like, and obviously it's bad to say take her because like Sari obviously manufactured a lot that got the 3 of them to the final 3, but like they were willing to sit beside Sari at final 3 before they found out it was a final 2 challenge or a final 2 instead. You have people like Christian saying they want to take her to final tribal council. This is what Sari does. You get one person who says, yeah, I want to take Sari to final tribal council, and all of a sudden like other people will probably start thinking that too. And Sari has the social chops to keep that going. I would not be surprised if Sari almost falls into like a JT position in this season, like a JT and Tokenshien's position.
Yeah.
Where it's just like Sari is so revered within the community. She might just be able to get even further than before because let's be real, a lot of these new era players are kind of like a fans tribe in Micronesia.
Yeah. I think so too. And one thing she also said is if someone says her name, she's not going to immediately go and cut them. She's going to, make sure it's the most strategic move or time it where it will be a benefit to her, which is always good to not have that snap reaction of like, oh, they got to go. Because as long as you're confident in your allies and your numbers, then they could say your name all they want.
Yeah. And this is why her experience in Australia versus the world is so important. For those of you who don't know, Sari got more votes against her in that 14-day game than she did her entire Survivor career prior to that.
Yeah.
So it really did change her approach to the game, and it was such a good experience going into 50. Just because people are saying your name, it isn't the most terrifying thing in Survivor, as long as you know you have the numbers to prevent it from happening. And that is something that Sari is capable of doing.
She is a queen and a legend in this game, that is for sure.
Which of her 4 previous games do you think she needs to emulate the most in order to be successful in season 50?
Honestly, I think Panama, because she was looked at as so under the radar because she was on the quote older women's tribe.
Yeah.
And she was going to be out fourth if if they lost that challenge after Melinda. Like, she was not long for the world, and then she just flew under the radar, then did the 3-2-1, and everybody was taking her to the final tribal council.
Yeah. I actually think she needs to play closer to her Game Changers game.
That was the other one I was toying with, was Panama and Game Changers, because Game Changers, she already has the target of I'm Suri, but is able to make those inroads with everybody to get herself to 6th, where nobody is thinking of writing her name down.
Yeah, I mean, Suri is the most connected person on this cast, if I recall correctly. She's played with the most people. She's involved in the Survivor community to know a lot of these people as well. I would be, unless this tribe is going to tribal council like every single vote in the pre-merge, I would be surprised to see Suri go home before the merge.
Yeah, I honestly would be too. Ready to go?
Let's do it.
Aussie, Cook Islands, Micronesia, South Pacific, Game Changers, 2nd, 9th, 4th, and 12th. He wants to play as Oscar, not Ozzy the Jungle Boy. And he really wants to play with Suri. Ozzy is an interesting character on this season because the stigma of being the challenge guy is going to be rough for all of those people that are the quote challenge guys. Honestly, I think except for Colby, because of what happened in Heroes versus Villains, that their guard is going to be down regarding Colby. But Ozzy always comes out and shows up in challenges. And so I think it's going to be hard for him to escape the first or second juror.
Yeah, Ozzy's an interesting position. When you look at his games, Ozzy hasn't been the most strategic player playing Survivor. In fact, some might say he's kind of forgone strategy in everything that isn't South Pacific, and the strategy led to his, was lent from his other skills in that season because he could take advantage of Redemption Island. So it'll be interesting to see what he means by saying he's playing as Oscar instead of Ozzy. I think when you look at the last 10 years since the last time we saw Ozzy on our screens, he has matured quite a bit. He's been through a lot. He has certainly had a lot of life experience in the last decade.
Yeah.
And seeing a wiser Ozzy out here, someone with more life experience, is really going to be interesting. Is he going to be doing his Game Changers game where he was pretty much non-present the entire time? I don't know. What's so fascinating about his pregame press is he says he needs to focus on actually building bonds with people and actually playing like the social game, which is something he has neglected to do pretty much every single season he's played, save for maybe Micronesia, where he paid the price for it.
I think Game Changers really struck a chord with Ozzy because of the way Brad Culpepper wound up in Final 3, where he played the physical game, but he was a jerk. And that is Ozzy's MO in Survivor. And when that didn't win for a second time, because the first was him in Cook Islands, not like the first overall, but you know what I mean? The first time he really encountered it was him in Cook Islands, and then seeing Brad Culpepper not get the win, even though he was physical throughout the entire game. I think that really, struck a chord with him, being like, I have to make relationships here, because if I just win all these challenges and don't have anybody on the jury that'll vote for me, what am I doing out here? So I think that is a thing that he needs to change in this upcoming game, is making bonds, but also kind of, I guess, jury management in a sense of you don't want to make the bonds and then leave them with a sour taste when they get voted out too.
This is, I think, Ozzy's previous like good placements. So his Cook Islands placement and his South Pacific placement were actually a bit negative to him on returning seasons because it doesn't because he felt successful, right? It's kind of like we'll talk about Joe later, but it's kind of how I fear Joe's going to approach this season. But I think like Ozzy was so successful in Cook Islands that he kind of kept the same thing going. But other people dominate strategy. That's why he gets blindsided in Micronesia. Then he's given this season where there's a mechanic that he can take advantage of in Redemption Island, which gets him, again, one challenge win away from winning a season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of saying the exact same thing that his Cook Islands game said. And it didn't give him an opportunity to really think about it. I think going home so early in Game Changers, I think Game Changers being his worst performance so far is going to be so helpful for him because he's learning these lessons from it. And because he has this connection with Suri, he's played on 2 previous seasons with her.
Mm-hmm.
That is someone who has the strengths Ozzy needs to learn in this game. And he has that connection already where he can talk to her and figure out exactly how to progress through the game, hopefully.
Yeah. And he was saying like he has what she lacks and she has what he lacks, so that could be a really dynamic duo working in 50. I honestly, going back to your question of which game should he emulate the most, and I'm not really sure what game would work best for him. I think probably Game Changers, even though he didn't do much in it, like keeping the role of like I'm challenge, I'm gonna provide, but then integrating in that social, like keeping the low profile of Game Changers, I think is probably the most beneficial because Cook Islands, yes, he got second, but everybody still wanted him out. But because of the mutiny, they couldn't do that anymore. Micronesia, he was playing I'm big dog and nobody can touch me. Then he got out. South Pacific, he got that far because of Redemption Island. So I think really Game Changers is going to be his strongest game to move forward with.
I think he needs to actually take his social game from Micronesia and work with that. I think that is his strongest social game. I think he made the strongest social bonds in that season, but he has to be aware of the strategic minds against him that will flip on him. The benefit I think he has is that he's older and he's not going to be winning individual immunities all the time. There are other people on this season who are going to be bigger threats to win those individual immunities. So you're not thinking, oh, we need to blindside Ozzy at ninth. Now, right? You're going to be looking to blindside someone like Jonathan Young or Joe at that point instead. So I think that is actually really beneficial for him. And if he can just make strong bonds like he does in Micronesia, just keep in mind, his strong bond with Amanda is really what ends up sending him home. Because he's so close to Amanda that Parvati decides, no, we have to get rid of him because he's too close. And like this, I don't know how Amanda will go. So I think he has this ability to have a strong social game as long as he's not scared to replicate exactly what happens in Micronesia.
That's true. That's true. I think that's a great point, John. We good with Ozzy?
How does Ozzy win this season? I think that is actually something we should like tackle with these people. We should actually probably go back to Suri. I think we kind of summed it up with like Suri has to get the final tribal council. Like that's the biggest obstacle for preventing Suri to win the season. But
how does Ozzy win the season?
Yeah.
Oh, I think maybe taking a page out of episode 2 of Cook Islands, maybe throw a challenge, not a tribal challenge, but an individual immunity challenge where, you know, he's not coming out with the first 2 merge immunity necklaces or something like that. And he's like, just, oh, see, I kind of suck. Look at Joe, look at Jonathan, look at Colby, look at Dee, look, you know, all of these other people that are doing better than me. I can like squeak by and work on my relationships. I think that might be a way that he could get there, but I just don't see it.
I think if he comes out as a social player, he could get to the end and win the game. But he has to be a social player above anything else.
We'll find out. All right, Christian, David versus Goliath, 7th place. Apparently he kind of knows Eva through his lab, and so that leads to a connection with Joe, which could be a new brochacho. And he has a secret 6-month-old baby that was just born before he went out on the island. So that's like one of those gut punch cards that you can pull out at any point, and I think is a really good weapon at a final tribal council, or like to bond with someone, with some of these parents, if he keeps it close to his chest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like his like Jeremy Collins approach to the baby
Mm.
in this season, because I don't think it really works with this cast as much. Like, yes, it's this cool thing he can pull out and like be this big flashy moment towards
Mhm.
the end and be like, I'm playing for someone else. There are so many parents on this season, so many new parents on this season. I actually think it behooves him to play that card instead and relate to these people and build social bonds. I'm not concerned about Christian building social bonds with people. His
That's true.
interpersonal skills are on a completely different level. This is someone who is like such an endearing nerd that every type of person can get along with him. We saw that in David versus Goliath. But I think if Christian leans into being a little older, I think it'll really help him out in the game.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if he's going to, stick with that Jeremy Collins approach. That just is kind of what he said in his pregame stuff, but he could be like talking to some of his fellow tribe mates and be like, "Oh, we've had babies," and things like that. "Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna say, I
Mhm.
just had a baby, 6 months, and it's really cute." So, I think Christian is a good judge of what is going on the beach, to be able to either withhold information because he thinks it might be valuable later, or, use it to his advantage now and gain those bonds with parents and new parents, because there is that limbo of either I'm one of the youngest people on the season and don't have kids, or I am on the older side of the cast and I have kids. And then Christian, perceived right now, is kind of in that limbo where
Mhm.
he is not one of the young kids, but not one of the parents. So if he I guess goes one way or the other depending on this baby conversation.
Yeah, it's so interesting because Christian clearly has a very analytical mind when it comes to the game. We saw that in David
Mhm.
versus Goliath. We've seen that in every conversation with Christian after he's been on the show, right? Like we have so many different podcasts out there in the world with Christian explaining like these analytical approaches of the game. The one thing he really lacked in David versus Goliath was kind of living up to his own level of understanding and adeptness in the game. He didn't own himself as a player, and that made it so that he got a little lackadaisical with learning like when people would turn on him. Like Mike White really pushes the idea of Christian as a threat, as someone who can win the game in David versus Goliath. And Christian didn't know how to take that and warp that story to make it so people wanted to keep him in the game. Instead, he kind of
Mhm.
let that get out of hand. So I think that's really where we have to see him changing his game in order to be completely successful in 50.
Yeah, I think his threat level management of himself is going to be really important for 50, because in David versus Goliath, we see everybody's like, we have to get Christian out. Everybody loves him. He is good in challenges. He's great around camp socially. He's just this big, larger than life guy that we can all bond with, but that is in itself a threat. And I think he needs to know how to tone that down, but not necessarily tone it down, but know who around him is not going to turn on him and gain those allies more than he did in David versus Goliath, because he did have his allies turn on him. I know he got Gabby first, but Gabby was like, Christian's too good. I've got to flip on him, try and get him out. So
Christian, go
what?
continue.
No, you're good. Go.
Okay. Christian really benefits from this being a full returning cast season.
Yes.
in all
100%.
honesty, and that he is on a starting tribe with someone like Suri, who has a very large target on it, right?
Mhm.
That there's a winner on this tribe, that there are all these like prolific names associated with the tribe, because that does allow Christian, yes, he's very likable. There are other likable people on this season. And I think the fact that he wants to take Suri to final three really shows the way he wants to approach the game, right? Like he's analyzing the game and being like, oh, you know what Suri needs is someone to take her to final three. That's how you can be best friends with her. That's how you can be as close as possible with her.
Mhm.
And I'm willing to do that. Like, it could be a death sentence, but I could do it. I actually would not be surprised if we see like Christian and Rizzo get together at some point. I think that is actually a duo we should look out for in Survivor 50, because I think it would be really powerful together.
I am worried about him and his other DVG castaways. I hope he strays from them, to be honest, because they aren't as locked in with him as he would be with them.
Mhm.
And I think he needs to make other bonds and be willing to cut them and not worry about not having anybody from his season or like I guess like built-in allies.
I think one of the hardest things to figure out with these like trios that they've put on from a couple of seasons, who's the largest target from David versus Goliath from a game point standpoint? It's going to be Christian, right? Like, yes, Angelina and Mike are both good at the game in their own right. Christian has a different type of sense to the game that's a lot more threatening to people.
The breath first search, I mean, that's a different way of trying to look for an idol where people know now how he's trying to analyze the game, and he comes at it with a lot of analytics, where I think that is a lot more threatening to people instead of people who are just they get on the island, know how to strategically maneuver around the game. Like when Christian can put facts behind things, that's when it gets scary.
Yeah, I agree. How does he win the game? We
How
don't
does
have
he
to say what he's our first like single season returnee, so we don't have to say like which game he needs to emulate, but how does he win the game?
How does Christian win the game? I think he wins the game by making bonds that won't turn on him and not making his threat level skyrocket. He needs to know who his shields would be,
Mhm,
and like he needs to layer them to be able to be like, okay, so this person is going at this vote, this person's going at this vote, and then I'm next.
mhm.
So I've got to make sure that I insulate myself. As long as he insulates himself well with a bunch of people, I think he'll be okay.
We said Ozzy has to play the social game in order to get to the end. Christian has to play a different social game than Ozzy. Ozzy has to just be kind of play nice with everyone, I think, to get to the
Mhm.
end. Christian has to expertly pick his allies to go to the end.
Yes.
And I think that is really what it comes down to, and the difference between those two games. And I think Christian's capable of doing it, but we just have to see it in practice if he can actually pick who he needs to get him to the end.
Agreed. Rick Devens, Edge of Extinction. He was the fourth boot, but also fourth place. And he wants to work with the moms and the lunatics, according to him. I left my spacer bullet in there. And then, so we are going to dive into Rick, and he's essentially played 2 seasons. But my biggest thing with Rick and what I'm going to love watching him do is I feel like he just is always playing with house money and is like everything is gravy. I'm just going to go and hit the ground running and see what happens because like I'm on Survivor, I've already won.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing. And when you look back at Rick's Edge of Extinction game, it's so apparent that he's just playing as if he has absolutely nothing to lose once he comes back from merge. And that is how he has to approach this game. Luckily, we're dealing with a returning player cast. And we've said it before, McKenna, when we talk about returning player cast, those are the people who are most successful, the people who are not scared to make moves, the people who are not scared to just like play as hard as possible, right? You and Phil did a interview with Miles from Australian Survivor after he won the game, and that is exactly what he says in that interview. Is like you have to play as aggressively as possible in order to be successful at Survivor. And sure, sometimes that means like throwing people's names out, but sometimes it's just like positioning yourself well. And Rick has the capability of doing that. And he has the experience that some of these other players from the late 30s who haven't come back to play the game yet are lacking, because he has been voted out of the game. He's back. He knows the signs to look for. He knows how to aggressively push things. And the bigger thing, he knows how to change targets around him. That is what he really demonstrates in that Edge of Extinction game.
Yeah, I think he has the upper hand when it comes to single season players because he was voted out and able to return in the same season, and able to like navigate and know, those signs. But something that I think Rick has is like some strategic chops and things like that. But I think he just needs to be like kooky Uncle Rick in the corner and be like, he's just laughing and joking over in the corner. He's not finding idols. He's not. I don't think he needs necessarily Tony's house arrest, but he just needs to be like, oh, don't worry about Rick. He's just, it's just him. Like that. That's what he needs to let the other people feel about him. And I worry about him just being a Tony in Game Changers and going, woohoo, looking for an idol, that kind of thing, because he is fun, playful. And I think those are good qualities for him to keep, but he has to play it in the right way.
Yeah, I agree. The thing with Rick, if you look at the pregame press, a lot of people don't have good vibes from Rick because they're saying he's a little too jovial and like too smiley in Ponderosa. It's giving like this fakeness. It's like, can we really trust him, or is he just acting this way with everyone? And they kind of see him acting this way with everyone. So I think he is coming in with a bit of a target on his back. I don't think his tribe is the worst tribe for him to be on. He has another Atlanta-based news reporter on his tribe. He has these older players that he can connect with. And he has this experience of also playing with returning players before. Like, I think some people might forget that Rick's like closest ally in Edge of Extinction was David Wright. And so he has this experience of like knowing how to play with these returning players. And he can do this. He has this capability. I mean, Rick was Phil's winner pick at the beginning of the season. Like, and he's not deviating from it because that's not how Phil does. I think he has an uphill battle, but I really think his experience of being voted out will help him potentially navigate the pre-merge really well.
How does he win, John?
I think St. Cliffo got it right here. Rick needs to make an alliance. Like, this is, again, someone who, he's very similar to Christian, where he has to be very careful of who he works with. But because he did play that second half of Edge of Extinction without an alliance, he was very much floating there because, he got burned by the lessons. He had to just do what he had to do. I think we know he's like this low-key immunity threat. He won 4 immunities in Edge of Extinction. He can find idols, like clutch find idols. What he really needs to do is not get voted in the pre-merge. I think once you hit the merge, I honestly think that. I think once you hit the merge, Rick doesn't become that first target anymore. I think he's another one of those, he's kind of like Suri, right? Like, there's bigger fish to fry.
Sneaks up on you at the end.
Yeah. So I think he is someone who can get towards the end. The question is, can he survive the first, like, I don't know. I'm assuming we're probably merging at like 14 this season, or like earning the merge at 14 or whatever. Can he survive those first 10 boots before that? Which is a terrifying number.
I know. I was just like, that is sickening. All right. We are going to Emily now, Survivor 45, 7th place. She apparently did not like where her arc ended and wants to be closer to Emily 1.0. She wants to have some of that like game body aura around her, but also I think she just, after playing Survivor and having a new group of friends due to, the camaraderie of the game, I think also will change her first steps on the beach in general. Like, I think just she won't be totally Emily 1.0 because she's just had life and like she's lived Survivor already. I don't know. Like, it's hard to like put that into words, but I think because she played the game and went through all that she did, and she's not going to hit the beach and just revert back to 1.0.
Emily is probably one of the most surprising cast members on this season, just based on her post-game press after she finished 45, where she's like, I did Survivor, it's done. I don't need to do it again. And we have confirmation from her 45 castmates, which is, of course, is a very tight cast, that that was real. Like, Emily didn't want to come back at all. The fact that she's here tells us that there's been a change in her life. The fact that she, in that season, says, I never wanted to get married, and then gets married, right? Like, Emily is someone who can show growth. We see it in her arc in 45. I'm a little concerned that she wants to go back to Emily 1.0. However, that directness might work better in a returning player season than it does in a newbie season, right? Like, you look, I think someone who Emily has a real strong chance of working with is Jenna. I think that is a possibility.
Even though she was like, Jenna who?
But yeah. I think there's a possibility that they like super clash, but I think you're on one side of the spectrum, right? Like, they are either going to be the closest of allies or they are going to be bitter enemies.
I think you rope in Savannah into that too because of how she was with Christina. So who are you voting for? And I think that like trio of just like, we're honest and direct could really work out and be like, we know where each of our thinking is. We know just because I'm sitting with Rick and talking to Rick doesn't mean he's my new number one. It just means that I'm working him or something like that. I think their directness and ways of communication could actually work to benefit like that trio.
And we know Emily is smart at this game. She can convince people. She convinced Bruce not to play his idol, right? Like, she has a strong social game if she chooses to use it. What she really needs to learn is the aftermath of that Bruce vote, where she took onus for the move and realizing that the place to take onus for that move is not at the beach. Like, yes, you have to have people like somewhat aware of the things you're doing before you get to the end of the game. As long as you can back it up, do it at the end of the game. That way people don't vote you out for it.
Yeah, like how Marianne, was navigating through 42 and like she had an idol played on her and things like that. And then she shows up to Final Tribal Council being like, well, I had an idol. I just made Mike play it on me because just to prove a point. Yeah. So if Emily is able to do things like that, where she hides her moves a little bit, everybody knows she's involved with it, but then is like, all right, here's my plans. Or like D with the Julie and Emily blindside of like, I told Julie to play the idol and to vote Emily out. Like, nobody knew D did that. So as long as Emily can do that kind of thing, I think her strategic moves throughout the game will come naturally to her as long as she keeps her reasonings under wraps, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think on this tribe, Emily's one of the people I am most concerned for.
I agree.
I think this is a bad draw for Emily. Luckily, she does actually know Christian, though. Her and Christian have played a lot of Blood on the Clock Tower together. But that also means Christian knows how good of a liar Emily is. So there are concerning things there. There's potential for Emily. She is someone who I don't see long for the game. But McKenna, how does she win it?
I think she has to align with like every strategic player.
Okay.
I think she has to have like a wall of strategy with her, and they like move as a unit throughout the game.
So you think she should be starting this off of this tribe with like Christian and Suri then?
And throw in Savannah, because Savannah's always going to be a bigger target. So like move as like this impenetrable kind of unit, And I think because I don't think a social player will do her much. I don't think Ozzy's going to do her much with the physicality. Like, I think she just needs a bunch of brilliant minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a trust fund of some sort.
Yeah.
Or a brain fund.
Brain trust.
Brain trust. That's the phrase I'm looking for. It's there.
And then one thing we also said is like, let's hope she takes some more risks a bit, because I think she did play some things a little bit safe. Like, she does have the opportunity to gain an advantage on a journey. Now, we don't always want to take the journey up on that advantage because you can lose your vote. But just in the sense of the game, I feel like she, does the Bruce boot and then gets voted out right after it. So it's like, yes, take some risk, but like, don't put it out there, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. She just needs to not play safe, I think. And again, like, it's the same thing we said about Rick, right? Like, that idea of like, you have to play a little bit riskier on a returning player season. Hopefully Emily has that bitter taste of being voted out and isn't scared by it and embraces it instead.
Yeah. Joe, Survivor 48. He is third. Hasn't completed his sister's mission, so he is back out here again because he didn't win. And so he is ready to hit the ground running. He is an old school player's dream. This is like, he's kind of like the gateway into the new era for allies, because I think he can make a new era ally really easily. He can make an old school ally really easily. So it's going to be interesting to watch Joe go throughout this game because he can like pull allies out of thin air.
Joe's such an interesting person to have back. Obviously, it's because of the casual love for Joe. I think Survivor just loved Joe as soon as like they saw the Joe and Eva moment. How the way that he approached the game. When Joe was announced on this cast, I said I could be excited for Joe if he decides to completely change his game. He got the loyalty thing out of his way. Now he can just like scheme and plot. It's very clear from his pre-game press that's not what he intends to do. He still wants to play the loyal game. I'm not 100% convinced he understands why he lost 48. Or why, not even lost, why he got 0 votes at the final tribal council in 48. But he knows he can get to the end. Like you said, he is that old school player's dream, right? Like, someone like Stephanie Colby would love someone like Joe to work with. The problem is he did that last time and he went to final 3 with 2 people who could beat him. Honestly, he went to final 4 with 4 people who could beat him.
Yeah, that's true. And so I think he needs to play this loyalty game, yes, but know that it's okay to then make a move. So being able to cut an ally if he needs to, or you can still play this honor, integrity, loyalty game and not be lying about it. You just have to know, like, these are my people that I'm not doing anything to, like an Eva. All right, this is my loyalty game. And then you can use that as a way to gain other allies. But, it's kind of like in Micronesia where they cross their fingers behind their back saying they're not going to vote out Jason. So
he just needs to play Survivor is what it comes down to, right? Like, it's kind of like, McKenna, I'm going to harken back to one of your favorite moments in Survivor. It's Edna Ma's final tribal council speech.
Yes.
Right? It's like and it kind of goes back to, and even if we go back further, like Xi'an's final tribal speech in All Stars, right? Like, we're playing a game where lying to people is expected. Joe just has to be comfortable doing that himself, because hopefully that is enough to get him that little bit more. It's one thing to get to the end of the game. It's another to get to the end of the game and actually have a chance of winning. And we as viewers were tricked into thinking Joe had a chance of winning, but he clearly didn't on the island. So he needs to figure out how to change that perspective of him from the people he's playing with.
Yeah, agreed. How does Joe win? I think he has to make some strategic moves and calm down,
Yeah, I agree.
basically. After just watching Icarus Time, I think he just needs to, like, take a breath when he gets some information. He did do that, but I think he really is, like, then he went into Shaheen with, like, the dad mode and, like, all right, I'm gonna, do a roundabout way to ask him these questions, when I think, like, just be direct and, talk to people about certain things, and I think he'll be okay.
Joe demonstrated in his post-game, or he explained in his interview with Phil after the game, that him and Shaheen were just not talking at all that vote.
Right.
Hopefully, what he's learned is that he needs to talk to everyone.
Mhm.
Like, no matter the situation, like if he has an opportunity to talk, he needs to be doing it, and hopefully, that can be one of the things he can take into this game.
All right, we are here with Savannah, Survivor 49 winner. And right now everyone is perceiving her as the winner, or someone who goes deep in the game if they don't assume she wins. She has also been compared to Parvati, which is a big walking target in itself. So, I worry for Savannah's chances on 50, but you can't say no to 50. So, like, even though this might not be her best time to return, you can't say no.
No, but that being said, there are sometimes better movements to be there, right? Like Savannah isn't the worst positioned winner, I don't think, because everyone just saw Kyle win. Like
I
literally
think
right before going
honestly,
up there.
he is probably the worst positioned winner.
Like Kyle is? Oh, D.
Yeah, D.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. But I think Savannah has the potential of the Russell Hantz effect, right? Where it's like, oh, you came back. So they like you had to do something.
Mhm.
But what? Like, how do you approach it? What do you do? So the other thing is like she knows she won, right? She doesn't have the Russell effect of like thinking she won the game and then coming back and
Yes,
then
she has
playing
the
the same.
confirmation.
She's confirmation bias, which might even be worse.
Mhm.
Like it might be worse because she played a very specific game in 49 that, she made her close allies, which is actually good with people in this tribe.
Mhm.
She rode with them all the way. She had control and like had this way of intimidating. I don't think she's going to be as intimidating on this season as she was in 49. So I don't know if her threat level is going to be anywhere near as high as it was in 49, but I also don't know if she's going to be able to identify that or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard with winners to be like, "All right, what should they change about their game?" Because they won. So clearly they played a winning game, but when you're in a cast of all returnees, when only 2 other people have won and so many other people are hungry for the win, it's going to be hard to navigate that, I think. And I don't know if Savannah can be a Tony, be a Sandra, and win a second time, even though Tony's was with all winners. But anywho, um, I think she really just needs to keep that like killer instinct about her and be like, all right, what's happening in the game and how do I progress further and what amount of people do I need to make that happen? And that's like a very new era slash voting block situation, where it's like, all right, I need to progress further, let's slap together a vote.
Yeah, I think she needs to be. She has that potential. Like we saw it. Like she is able to pull people in at different points, identify who to work with and when to work with them. She's capable of it. She does have the added benefit that like people don't actually know she won Survivor 49. However, everyone's assuming it.
Yes.
So it puts her into this dangerous spot. I think she also like tied the woman's immunity record. So
Yes.
we know she's. The problem is like you have so many people who have tied that record on this season.
That's also true.
So you don't know how it's going to go. From pregame press, it sounds like she's walking around like a winner. Could be good, but it could put a target on her back right away.
Agreed. John, how does she win again? And that's why I wanted to ask you the question.
I honestly don't know. I don't know if she has a chance to. She would have to
like destroy alliances basically. I think there have to be everybody is single and nobody can be in an alliance.
She has to worm her way through the game, floating through the middle, and just like we've said, so many people have to rely on alliances. She has to break them all up.
Yes, exactly. The alliance breaker, Savannah Louie.
I think St. Cliff was right. She has to play the Sandra game. She needs to play anyone but me.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have the Kalo tribe, and we are starting off with Coach Tocantins. Heroes versus Villains, South Pacific. He placed 5th, 12th, and 2nd. He apparently never wanted a wife and kids, but after South Pacific, realized that was what he needed. And then, yeah, I think Coach has just like we've talked about people who have had a lot of life happen to them after Survivor, and I think Coach is no different. He definitely changed as a man after Survivor, and I think this long break for him really is going to do him justice in the game.
It's impossible to say Coach is not the player in pregame press who is the most impressive. He is someone that everyone seems to want to work with. He has this sense of honor, integrity, and loyalty that people love and people glob onto, and they want to work with him. And they've seen him lose. And I think losing South Pacific might be the greatest thing for Coach going into this season. Because
they might not think he could do Final Tribal Council.
Exactly. Even though after rewatching his Final Tribal Council last week, it's not that bad of a Final Tribal Council. He's actually like kind of good. He's just up against a jury that he could never sway.
Well, he just needs to, one of his things to change is he needs to own up to his actions and be like, yo, I did this. And, not try and be like, I didn't really do that. I kind of was involved with it. I didn't necessarily know, it just be like, yes, I did these things in the game and it might not have gone the way of honor, integrity, and loyalty, but I had to do that to sit in this game. You all thought that's the game I was playing, but I'm actually doing this thing.
One of the big things Coach said after in his pregame press is that after South Pacific, he has never stopped playing Survivor. Everything has led to this return for him. I don't know how much he is yanking our chain, how much he is just like exaggerating himself.
You don't know.
You don't. But I also 100% believe him. Like we see he has these connections to the new era, like through Ben Katzman, he has these connections to the 46 tribe or the 46 castaways and everything. He has this ability to connect with people. We know he can bring people together. We saw it in South Pacific. Yes, he did it in like the most manipulative way possible in South Pacific, but he can bring people together. He brought people together in Tocantins. I think people kind of forget that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
he was like the leader of Timbira.
I think one of the greatest things is like we know we will always get Coach the character, right? I mean, he starts off the 50 preview trailer with a Magellan quote. Like that's still Coach. That is what we expect out of Coach. But the fact that he doesn't want to be giving people nicknames, the fact that he isn't like playing into the character while playing the game, this is a man who wants to win this. This is someone who is like laser focused on finishing what he started 27 seasons ago and finally capturing his W.
And he also wants to now work with strategic players, use those strategic players where he might not see something and be able to work with them to navigate through a vote rather than gunning for them and getting them out. And then he's left with the strategic people all on the jury kind of hating him.
Yeah. I think he's in a great position. He's my winner pick. Honestly, it's kind of hard to listen to the way he is thinking about this game and not pick him as the person who's going to win it.
Yeah, I mean, so which of his games do we think he needs to emulate moving forward in 50?
None of the above. Like, I honestly, it probably is Heroes versus Villains game.
Oh, I think it's South Pacific.
Interesting. I think he's too in control in South Pacific. If he can bring an alliance that close again, sure, absolutely. But I think his heroes versus villains game is the one where I think he's really hurt going into heroes versus villains being classified as a villain, because Coach is not a villain in the sense of Survivor. He was just disliked as a character because they kind of leaned into the character side of him. In the game, he is very much a hero. And I think that kind of hurt him in Heroes versus Villains. So we kind of played this bit of a diminished role, right? We kind of get like, we got the sweet like Coach and Jerry bit of it at the beginning of the season and everything. We get the like, you're a fickle man or whatever, or a little man, you're a little man, that Rob says to him as he's voted out. But I think if he can play a little bit further back and just like make connections like he does in Heroes versus Villains, I think that's how you see the most success for him. Just like don't get got by the person who you don't know anything about their game.
I think for me, I think it's South Pacific because I think the cult of Coach runs strong within these people, and he doesn't need to use actual religion. He needs to use his aura as the religion, essentially, where it's like so many people want to work with Coach. So it's just like he then is given power because people want to work with him. So I think using his South Pacific game and the way he was able to navigate the game and not even touch Redemption Island to get to second place, I think would be a pretty good game to emulate, and then talk and make sure he shows up at Final Tribal Council, and I think he's golden.
I think the thing, like Camilla says Coach is her favorite player. Like,
yeah.
He just needs to find those people in the new era. And he is the type of person who I think will be able to find those people. And I honestly, I actually find it harder to find reasons why Coach will lose this game than reasons why he'll win this game.
I think a way he will lose is because everybody loves him too much.
That's very true. Yeah.
Alrighty, moving on. We have Chrissy, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. She placed second. Gone through a lot of life since playing the game. And I mean, going through that surgery and then doing a 500-mile hike, absolutely insane. She had felt that her previous cast was very young and was hard for her to bond with. So then moving into 50, she feels that it's going to be a lot easier to talk to everybody and make allies and things like that, because the majority of her new chosen allies will be closer to her age. So I think that jury might benefit her then if everybody is kind of closer to her age. I don't know. That's just some things that I gathered while listening to one of her interviews.
It's so funny because I never really think of Heroes, Healers, Hustlers as like a young cast until Chrissy mentioned it. It's like, yeah, you know what? She was kind of like,
I mean, Joe, Mike, Ben weren't necessarily that young, but they were.
But a lot of the rest of the cast was.
But that's also who she chose to align with. Like, she could have chosen to align with the older crew, but anyway.
And it didn't align like game wise though, right?
Yes.
Like her strategy didn't line up with theirs, which is what she's trying to figure out here, right? She wants to play with like-minded people in this game, and I think it's really important.
And her ability to make moves and kind of see the game is something that she needs to keep with her in 50, because she does have a really good game sense. But something that I am confused about by what she wants to do in the game is not have a number one. So she had Ryan as her number one in the game, but she doesn't want a number one now. So that could always lead to, oh, these two people are closer than I am to them, or like I'm the fourth in this group of three. So I don't know exactly how that'll work for her if a bunch of other people are also trying to play a middling game.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be interesting to see how this season plays out from that front, and whether we're looking at like a voting block season or an alliance-based season, because I think it could really go either way. And I think Chrissy benefits from a voting block season.
Yes, agreed. I think that works. I think she does too. What's interesting is she wants to align with people of similar strategy, but Jenna, who wants to play like a similar strategy to Chrissy of like the mom character, blah blah blah. Jenna wants Chrissy out because she wants the soul to be that soul character. So it'll be interesting to see who Chrissy gravitates to aside from Angelina, because we know that that's a pregame relationship that they have in the game, because she is another one of those solo I don't have a buddy people in the game.
Yeah. Her being the only representation from 35 does kind of change the way she has to approach it. But Chrissy was rather involved in the Survivor community, so she does know these people.
Right.
Supposedly, her and Angelina are like super close to each other, so it should be interesting to see if they have the opportunity to play with each other, how that'll go. I think like the big thing Chrissy needs to be is like a little less emotional, because there are some times in Healers Hustlers where she is too reactive based on like whether it's in front of the jury and she's like really giving away the way, like even in that the Survivor Devil, the episode we watched last week of her, like she's too, Phil was mentioning it when you guys were doing the recap, like she's too reactive in front of that jury.
Yes.
And
that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths when you get to the final tribal council and have to ask for their vote.
Exactly. So I think as long as she can reel that in a little bit, be a little more like she's a very strong strategic player, but like just take a little bit more rationality and just take the time to digest things and figure out how to progress, I think she could do really well in this game.
So her path to winning is creating voting blocks and not alliances. Is that what we're saying? Is how does Chrissy win?
Especially if she doesn't want a number one, right? Like if she doesn't want a number one, she has to get this game into voting blocks. She has to essentially do the exact same thing Savannah does, but not to the same extent that Savannah does. I think Chrissy can still thrive with alliances, but if she's not going to find a number one, she is not going to be able to be within the alliance within the alliance.
Is winning immunity good for her?
I think so. I think there are enough immunity threats as Chrissy is tied for the women's record for most immunity wins in a season. I don't really think winning immunity is going to paint a target on any one of these individual people that much.
Okay, cool. Just a question. All right, so we are going with Mike White. David versus Goliath. He got second place, treating the game as a vacation from Hollywood. So just, kicking off his shoes and, locking into a different kind of work. But it's a time on the beach where you could just be like, this is my favorite game ever, and I'm just going to play and not have to deal with budgets and deal with actors and deal with directors and deal with this, that, and the other thing that comes with Hollywood. So he is kind of just vibing, which is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, he is. Okay, I'm gonna say it. He plays the best game in David versus Goliath. I don't think there's a question about that. I have no questions about that. I think he plays such a phenomenal game. He is able to use his words to really push his own narratives in that season and get himself to the end. He isn't the flashiest player. He plays a very under the radar game. He comes off a bit comedic. I mean, it helps. He's a comedic writer. Like that really helps him and lets him get this social game. He has a love for Survivor that I don't know if anyone on this cast can really rival. Like, he has been involved in the Survivor community since long before he played the game. If he keeps that, like if he just pushes his own narratives in like these sly ways, like the way that someone like Suri pushes her narratives, right?
Yep.
That is someone who's very dangerous in this game.
I think the one thing that he would need to do if he does wind up at Final Tribal Council again is be confident in his own moves and like own up to a bunch of things and just be like, say it with your chest, where I don't think he often does that. He doesn't, say things with his chest and like, it's like, puts himself out there that way. But if he does and isn't under the radar when it comes to like Final Tribal Council or something, because I think that's where he lost the game, was at Final Tribal Council. And not his game moves during the game. So it'll be I'm interested to see how he navigates the game with also, we have to say the White Lotus of it all, where so many people have watched the White Lotus and are just like, OMG, I love that, and I want to get a spot on the show, so I can't get rid of Mike White. But also we have people being like, I don't care about that. I'm playing Survivor. He's got to go, because so many people are going to like worship after him.
I think he respects people who vote smart in the game. I think he would really respect that. I actually think the better way to get onto the White Lotus is probably
to vote him out. Yeah.
I think so. It'll help, but I think the White Lotus of it all is kind of really overblown.
I think so too. But everybody has kept talking about it in interviews, so like
I think it's one of those things that's really prompted in those interviews, though, right?
It is prompted, yeah.
Like there is those questions about it and everything, and it's definitely on everyone's mind. But I think one of the best things about Mike is he can get in there and kind of change that, right? He can get in there and just like change the way people view it so that they're not thinking about the White Lotus of it, and they're just thinking about the Mike White of it all. Like, Angelina in her preseason interview says that the prize money of $1 million isn't enough to make her betray Mike White because of how close they are as friends. And sure, they've known each other for almost a decade at this point, but that is the type of relationships he needs to be building on the island, and he's very capable of doing it.
Yeah, I think how can Mike White win the game? I think he needs to keep that under the radar game, have a big group alliance, and not be the spearhead, the biggest target, and just be like that kind of center of the onion. I think he really needs a Goliath alliance around him that everybody just kind of picks off.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how he wins the game. And then if he just says, guys, I played you all at the end at Tribal Council, it doesn't say, it's okay, you can give Nick the win, I think he can absolutely win this season.
Jonathan, we are talking the big boy. Survivor 42, he was 4th. He also is giving old school vibes that a lot of people want to work with, and that people want him on their tribe because he's so big and that he can move an entire boat, hold up an entire ladder. He is best buddies with Boston Rob, so take that as you will for his strategy coming into the game. And he also decided to cut back on food instead of for 42, where he bulked up. So he might have some less hangry episodes where he can think a bit clearer and not, jump to the angry place right away when people are disagreeing with certain things. So I don't want to say I'm excited for Jonathan, because I feel like he's a one note kind of character, but I want to be surprised when I see Jonathan.
I think Jonathan's contributions to 42 are a little underestimated. Now, McKenna, you just finished watching the season again.
I did.
I think like he's more involved in the strategic talks in that season than are shown in the season.
Okay.
I think he's a little more in tune with what's going on. And I think there's a reason why someone this large can navigate his way through a post-merge to get to 4th, right? Now, there's a possibility like
he did have some immunity wins.
He did. He just had a couple, though. Like, it wasn't like an astounding number. He's not one of these like record tires or anything like that. So he does at least have like some semblance of a game, right? Like, there is something there to him. I'm really interested to see it. This is also someone who, like, spent a lot of time in reality TV, because we have to remember, like, he played reality TV he played a reality TV game as a child when he played Endurance.
Jonathan was on Endurance?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't watch that season. Well,
We
wait,
didn't
was
watch
he
that
on with
season.
John A? No, okay.
No. He was on like season 3 or something like that.
Oh,
But yeah, Jonathan was on endurance at one point. So like he has a knack for these games. Like he knows these games more than I think he's letting on. He has Boston Rob. I really am curious to see what that type of relationship looks like, right? I like what Rob is telling Jonathan how to approach the game. I think, and the biggest thing he has going for him, there's no way he's voted out in the pre-merge.
That's true.
And because I am anticipating a larger merge than normal, I think he could be the spot where he normally might get sniped out is exactly the spot where we might end up merging.
Yeah, I think I can see Jonathan in a mid-jury spot here. I don't see him winning, but I don't think he's gonna get like an Aussie type. We got to get him out now, because I think Jonathan has certain skill sets, unlike Aussie, who has all skill sets.
He's much similar. I think he's far more similar to a James Clement than he is to an Aussie.
Yes, I agree. And he got the advice of don't stress over things you can't control. And I feel like that was a big proponent in his 42 game is if he was not in control of things, he flipped out a bit. And so if he can just like keep calm and move throughout the waters of the game, he could wind up back in that, 4th position, and maybe he knows how to make fire.
Maybe. I mean, we have learned from his appearance of 42, he does know how to wade through water better than anyone else. Yes. So he has this ability, and I think this is someone who I think could be posed to surprise a lot of us on this season. I think if like he does show this strategic mind, I think he might be. He's already kind of this fan favorite with the casuals because he fits that like strong archetype.
Yeah,
I think he might be able to win over some super fans this season, and I'm like cautiously optimistic for having him on the season.
How does Jonathan win?
Exactly that. Like he has to show us a strategic mind. He has to show us a game that like, and he has to manage his threat level when it comes to physicality in the post merge. He can't be out here. I know I said like I don't think it matters if people are winning immunities all the time. Jonathan's one of those people who
that big, yeah.
Jonathan's one of those people who I think it is dangerous to win. I think it's okay if he wins the first one, but he can't win a back-to-back right at the beginning.
Agreed. All right, we have D, winner of Survivor 45, and she wants to join the ranks of Sandra and Tony, obviously, who wouldn't want to. I think she has the toughest road here because people are, even though they just watched Kyle win, they're like, OMG, but he's so nice. I think D is so cutthroat in her season that she has a massive social game. She is just like good. She's good at challenges. I think she's just like too good that people are like, she's scary.
I think D might be the most dangerous player out there in this season. And not because I think she has the highest winner equity. I don't think she does have the like highest potential to win the game, but I think she's just a dangerous player. I think D is the type of person who can really catch you off guard. And she's ruthless.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think she can manipulate really easy. She can wrap you around her finger, bat her eyelashes, and just be like, all right, come work with me. And I think that will really like, it'll reel people in.
I mean, McKenna, you've said to me that like you don't think Dee's stint on the challenge will really translate much to 50. However, just like looking at her challenge, like she's able to rope in Johnny Bananas right away. No, granted, he's kind of the archetype that like
he batted her eyes and was just like, oh, let me whisper sweet nothings into your ear. And I think that is, people were comparing Savannah to Parvati, and I think D is a closer Parvati because she uses that when she can, and I love that for her. So she used it with Austin, she used it with Bananas, and Ozzy has come out and said, like, if D did that to him, he doesn't know if he like can say no. So if she's able to maneuver to be in a tribe with Ozzy, I think she could use Ozzy real easy. And then we do slip into Micronesia again for him. But her ability to make connections in this game, I think, is going to be her best asset. And I think that's the way she wins, is just disarming herself to people and be like, oh, look, we had this amazing conversation. You're not going to vote me out. Or we went and swam together and it was so much fun. Remember that? So I think that's the way that Dee gets to the end, is just social game and being able to cut who she needs to cut.
I think St. Cliffo says it really well. Like, Dee has the highest floor. I wouldn't be surprised if she's the winner that remains the deepest in there. Also, because this tribe is stacked and will probably never lose a pre-merge tribal challenge or immunity challenge. But I think she does kind of have this lowest floor, because I think Dee is someone that people won't even let sniff Final Three. Because if she does, she has potential to win the game.
Yeah.
And even someone like Colby in his pregame press was like, sure, I can go in saying like I don't want a 2-time winner to like sit at the end, but like I voted for someone who had won the game already to win, and like I'm not beyond doing it again. It is something that can disarm people. So even it's weird, because Dee being a winner might actually lessen her threat level in a way, which makes it so she could possibly win the game. The question is just getting to the end to win the game.
Yeah. All right, we have Tiffany here, Survivor 46, 8th place. She said she wants to take 75% of her old game and morph it with 25% of a new game that she's bringing to 50 and make it 100% her 50 game. And she really enjoyed how she played the first time. And I think she played a really decent game until she got, and it just seemed rather all of a sudden within like 2 episodes, everybody was like, all right, Tiffany dunzo. So I think that's something that she has to navigate, where she knows now that it can flip on a dime.
Tiffany kind of had this unfortunate spot in 46 where she's part of the disaster tribe and kind of like the foremost presenting person who isn't cute, who's like wacky and zany, but she is there. And she has this ability to. She seems the more competent of them, is the thing, right? And like Kenzie kind of seemed a little more lackadaisical, didn't seem as like strategic heavy. I think Tiffany does kind of have this like a little bit of a threatening aura around her when it comes to the game, because she understands the game really well. I think she was playing a fantastic game in 46. She just got caught, right? It became too obvious too fast, and there wasn't. She needed like just a little bit more chaos going on in 46. And 46 is a pretty chaotic season, but it wasn't the problem was that she got involved in the chaos too much. She needs to have chaos happening and be able to step back from it, I think, in order to excel in 50.
And she said she wants to kind of be more present in the game. So like when Kenzie was going and collecting seashells and things like that, be like not always focused on the game, and just to like take a breath to be able to like walk on the beach and not worry about something, or like be kind of open with that, where like it does lower your threat level to just, I'm just gonna go collect shells, do, and people think that your head might be a little bit out of the game, or you're not as strategic as you are.
Yeah, I really appreciated that response from her in her pregame press. Like it shows her that she's learning from the winner of her season, and then like using her relationships to build upon herself. Because I do think she has a really strong foundation for the game. She just needs like a few tweaks. So I really like this approach of her like taking most of her old game and like just adding a little bit new stuff to it. And Neo Kuro here says it's a wasted slot. I don't think that's the case. Like every returning season has someone like Tiffany on it that like, oh, why is this person here? Like,
but I don't think Tiffany's even that person. Like,
I don't either.
If we compare second chance of Monica Padilla to Tiffany, like Tiffany is your that was a pick from this season, and you have Monica Padilla of that was a pick. I think they're night and day different of like elevated people here.
Tiffany kind of fits more in like that Amber role, I think, where we're just far enough away from 46. We kind of forget how great of a player and personality Tiffany has or
Mhm.
is, because rewatching hide and seek, like Tiffany's great in that episode, right? And even she did a recap of hide and seek on RHAP this week,
Mhm.
and like just listening to that, it's like, man, Tiffany is a great character, and I'm actually quite excited to see her on this season.
Yeah, she also was, like, dabbling around for my winner pick, because she's the lowest placing, so she's gonna go under the radar because people are gonna be like, "Well, she didn't even make it near Final Tribal Council."
Mm.
Um, and for the new era, Tiffany would definitely get my winner pick if I were to choose, like, old school and new era.
Mhm. I believe she is Pegwith's winner pick.
Yep.
So I think she's in a good spot. I think she's in a really good spot. The question is, are these players adept enough to realize how good of a spot Tiffany is in? And can Tiffany disarm them enough for that not to matter?
I mean, she also has to deal with Q and Charlie here. Charlie, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a little tough for him because he was pretty threatening in 46. He placed second, and narrowly lost the game.
Mhm.
So he wants to keep a strong duo like he had with Maria. And he wants to use the majority of his old game, but I think he really just needs to change some jury management things of when you vote people off. And I know that Maria has said it wasn't her vote out, it was the fire making response or whatever, but even just with the other people then who did not vote for Charlie, what
Mhm.
did he do during their vote outs that he could have maybe done a bit differently to curb their votes toward him?
One of the best things that can set Charlie up for Survivor 50 is he lost to a social player.
Mhm.
Like he has this blueprint in the way Kenzie approached the game that he can add to his game, and Charlie played a fantastic social game, right? Like
Yes.
he had his like Charlie's Angels alliance beforehand.
Mhm.
He was part of the 6 and 46. He Although he was brought into the 6
Yeah,
later.
he was after Tim got voted out.
So like that's also a big thing, right? Like being brought into an alliance is a huge thing. So it really goes to show his social placement. He clearly like made really good friends in 46
Mhm.
with like the way he interacted with like, Ben and things and people like that. He's strategic and he played one of the best middling games in Survivor history. Like he can float in that middle so well. And he does it without being noticed as like super threatening. It is so hard to do that. Charlie does kind of have this uphill battle to go through with the fact that a lot of
Mhm.
people say he is the best player from the new era not to win.
Yeah.
I think
Though
46 might be far enough away. People are forgetting about it though.
Though I think he has a built-in number 1 in this tribe with Coach
Mhm.
that people can be and I think he has the brains to be able to use Coach and what Coach can do for him in the game and not be wrapped up in Cult of Coach.
I agree. And again, like that's just something that his relationship with Ben Katzman is really going to help him with there.
Mhm.
He also has someone from his previous season on this. That could be a
He's
detriment.
they're the only 2.
That yeah, they're the only two. It could be a detriment because people are like, oh, here's an alliance that's like preformed. Could be a benefit. The thing is like we don't really see Charlie and Tiffany working all that much together in 46.
Mhm.
So I think that is a
It makes
benefit
a
for them.
little sense, yeah, that why those 2 would be of everybody put on. Yes, I know we have, like, some heroes versus villains crossover,
Mhm.
or OG seasons we're talking
Yeah,
about, but, yeah, Charlie, I just don't know how far he's going to get. Yeah, like, I think he's either pre-merge or he's deep, like, 5th or 6th place.
yeah, I agree. I think he's probably long for this game. In all honesty, I think he has that capability about him,
Mhm.
and I think he like we were talking about it with the David versus Goliath trio. How like Christian is like the most clearly like the biggest strategist of them all, and like the biggest gamer of them all. Charlie is the biggest gamer of this group of 3 from 46, but he's not the biggest, boldest personality because Q's there.
Correct.
So I think, like, he almost benefits from the fact that, like, this massive character, the biggest character from the new era, maybe the biggest character since Coach, is on his try or is in from his season and also in the game, will make people think, oh well, let's get Q out of here instead, and we can keep Charlie.
Yeah. So we will see how he navigates the game, but Q is like just so overwhelmingly like I can forget about Charlie. Like it's crazy how well Charlie did in the game, but Q just overshadows so much because of the chaos that he brings.
Yeah.
All right, we are going into Camilla. Survivor 48, 4th place. Feels like her game is stunted because Kyle is there. And she wants to cut other puzzlers because she wants to be the only person who can puzzle and whom people can rely on for that. So her relationship with Kyle is going to be one to watch if they make it to a spot where they're together, but I think her game really is stunted just on 50 in general coming out from 48 because she's going to have to play like the photo is with her hands in her pockets and like being at camp and just like seen to people where it's like, oh, I can see Camilla because her whole big thing was secret relationships.
Yeah, the fact that Camilla kind of gets the short end of the stick here, right? Her season just finished airing 2 weeks before people went out to play 50. They just saw her almost win the game, like to a point where like the jury's like, oh yeah, Camilla would totally have won if she was sitting here. You have her having a secret alliance with the winner of that season, who's also on season 50. And that being, and you also see her like playing a game where she, like it wasn't the game she wanted to play, right? Like she didn't want to play like this alliance-based game that 48 forced her to play. She wanted to be conniving and strategic, which I think this cast really leads to that for her. I think she has that opportunity here. The problem is she has to do it all in front of people because she walks off with someone and everyone's like, oh, they must have a secret alliance.
Or she has to walk off with like 12 people.
Yeah.
It has to be a group. It can't just be one person.
Yeah, the biggest issue is actually, it's not the fact that like her season finished airing right before they went out. It's because the post-game press came out before they went out for this season, where she was like, yeah, every conversation you saw of me and Kyle was pretty much every conversation we had on the beach.
Yeah.
That's the scariest thing about Camilla. I think she's probably fine, but I don't know. Like, I don't know which of these 48 trio are the most threatening that will get the most
true, on them. Because each one has their own little bit to them. How does Camilla win? I think it's just being present and connecting with people around camp. I think that is a way to get her further. I don't think she necessarily needs shields. I don't think she needs like a bunch of people surrounding her to be able to move forward in the game. I think she just needs to make genuine connections with people and, you know, be at camp.
Yeah, I agree. I think we know she has the strategic chops for this. The question is if she gets an opportunity to play the game that she wanted to play in 48 or not.
All right. We are going with the next tribe here. And man, this is going to be a tribe because we are starting off with Colby Donaldson, Australian Outback All-Stars HVV. He plays 2nd, 12th, and 5th. I think he is going to be under the radar physically, and he's loving it because, you know, of his Heroes versus Villains game. He's not looked at as the guy who's won a million challenges. There are people on the season bigger than him. And he wants to return to his good old boy legacy. He doesn't want to, you know, be the person that he was on HVV. He wants to, you know, just be Colby from Australian Outback, and he did fall off from Survivor for a while, but he went back and rewatched a lot of the show so he can kind of get up to date.
I'm so excited to see Colby. And I didn't think I would be, but the more I've sat with the idea that Colby Donaldson is on this season without Jerry Manthey, and it's like, okay, why is he back? Why do we need to see him for a fourth time? Obviously, Phil is really high on his Heroes vs. Villains game, but a lot of people aren't.
Mhm.
I'm so excited because listening to his pregame press, listening to like Tina talk about him pregame. This is a man who is coming in with like the desire to win this game. And I talked about it with Coach earlier. Like, there is a desire to win the game. He went back and he made sure he was up to date with seasons so that he was prepared. And it isn't like in the HVV premiere where he's asking, do you even know who these people are, to Candace?
Yeah. I love that he's under the radar physically because there are so many bigger boys out on the island with him, and Ozzy's also there on the island with him. We have so many like physical people. We have all of the women who have broken records. So like he's not going to be that outlier of we need to get Colby out because he's going to win a lot of things. We now get to talk about another person who's played multiple times again, and I think he honestly needs to go back to Australian Outback.
I agree.
And if he starts winning a bunch, I feel like people still aren't going to look at him as this, threat to the end. And then the thing that he needs to change to win is know who to sit next to in the finals, or bring someone that you think you can beat but would be okay to lose to, because he didn't want to win against Keith because he didn't think Keith deserved the final tribal council, and brought Tina because she deserved it more than Keith. But like he needs to bring people that, yes, he would be okay to lose to, but he really thinks he can beat them.
His Australian Outback game is actually kind of good. Like,
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad. Like, he's not the most strategic in that season, sure, but he plays a really loyal game. He plays a game where he has those social connections, right? Like, there's a reason why he only loses by 1 vote. He is that good old boy. He is the pinnacle. Like, he's Captain America, and he's coming back. He is someone who maybe benefits from the fact that our challenges aren't quite as physical anymore as they were in Heroes versus Villains, so we won't be as embarrassed in those challenges. He said he's embarrassed by his HVV performance. When he did Heroes versus Villains, he said he was embarrassed by his All-Stars performance. So, like, who knows exactly, like, if we are going to get this new and improved Colby. But
he was dropping F-bombs all over the place, but that's neither here nor there.
But I think what is the most impressive thing with Colby is he's saying, and there are a couple of people on this cast who have said similar things, this is the most excited he's been to play Survivor since Australian Outback. And that is so cool to have someone who started this game back in 2001, right? And he's out here, and I think it's just going to be fun. I think no matter how he plays this game, he is going. Colby at the reward in Heroes versus Villains, as Amanda and Danielle are like wrestling over an idol clue, is one of the most comedic moments in all of Survivor. Like, no matter what, I think Colby is going to be very, very entertaining on this season, just like St. Cliffo says in the comments. Is he going to go far? I don't know. He might be in a bad position here. I'm not exactly sure how this tribe is going to shape up.
Vibe. And that's what Colby just needs to vibe, but not too hard where people don't think of him as a player in the game.
Exactly.
He needs to just like, I don't think he needs a number one. I don't think he really even needs an alliance. I think he can just float his way through as a number, but picking and choosing his moments to which, side of something he might choose could get him the win. I think he's just that easy number that everybody will be able to trust, no matter if he doesn't vote with them this vote and votes with someone else. I think he's just a trustworthy guy that could make it to the end without, anything.
Colby is someone who benefits so much from his legacy going into this game. I think like his sense of loyalty is huge for him, bigger than it is for someone like even Joe, who is coming off of like his season just airing with him being super loyal. I think his terrible challenge performance in Heroes versus Villains really helps until you look at this man and look how much like more jacked he is than he was in Heroes versus Villains at a older age. Like we're like 15 years later, and this man looks like he's younger than he was in Heroes versus Villains somehow.
It's the Botox.
Sure, probably. However, he looks great. Like I'm just saying, this man looks great still. And I really, really think I think you're right again. I don't think he needs a number one, but he has a built-in number one on this tribe because Stephanie's on this tribe.
That's true. And they were working together in Heroes versus Villains. Well, let's move into Stephanie. She played in Palau, Guatemala, Heroes versus Villains with a 7th, 2nd, and 19th place finish. She does not want to be Guatemala Steph. She does not want to be that mean version of herself. She wants to be kind of America's sweetheart Stephanie again, which I don't know how well she'll be able to do that, because I think once she does get into games, she does get very cutthroat and very frustrated if they keep losing, which I don't know. She's on a tribe in Survivor. That could just happen.
Yep. Yeah, this tribe does look like it's set to be the disaster tribe. Looks like the most entertaining tribe because we're going to get the most screen time from them. But we're also going to get the most screen time from them, which means they're losing the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, she said she's going to keep her competitiveness. She's going to keep loyalty, but, it'll be to an extent. But she is one of those people like Jenna Lewis who would benefit from being a bit quieter and being a bit more under the radar, because Stephanie is just such a polarizing character that she's either in your face or she's like the sweetest person ever. I think she really needs to navigate the game with a delicate touch rather than a bulldozer.
I agree. I think she has to avoid becoming Guatemala Stephanie, and I think she's already identified that, right? Like she doesn't want to be Guatemala Stephanie. It's a part of her. I think Palau Stephanie is really a good balance of that, though. I think we see a lot of Guatemala Stephanie in Palau, but it just doesn't get there all the way, and there's this endearing like underdog story to it all, which obviously the edit like does her a lot of favors there, I think. But I think she's really capable of playing well. I think I also think like this isn't Stephanie coming back after 15 years of being out of reality TV because she came back and did Snake on the Grass, because she came back and did The Traitors. Like she slowly worked her way back into reality TV and is now coming out on 50. This is someone who, am I like terribly excited to see Stephanie? Maybe not, but she is someone who has demonstrated an understanding of the game to an extent, has navigated to the end of the game. And granted, like she probably didn't stand a chance of winning Guatemala no matter who she sat with at the end there, out of the like final 3, maybe even the final 4. But she still was able to get to the end again. And now that she's done that, she's learned her lessons from it. And she can look back at her Palau game, look back at Stephanie we were first introduced to, and play this game with this more current knowledge of reality television. I think she could end up surprising a lot of us.
Yeah, I think she also knows how to play as an underdog and play from the top. Now, she didn't win as an underdog, but she knows what it feels like to be an underdog and to try and scrape by. So she has both viewpoints, and that's great going into another game, because if she didn't and wound up at the opposite viewpoint of what she's used to, then she's at a fresh new game and doesn't know how to navigate it. Where with Guatemala, she was on top, knew what was going on. Palau, same deal, was the opposite, where she was on the bottom the entire time, was able to scrape by a few merge votes, but I mean, it was Kobe and Janu quit.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? she was probably the weirdest thing is like her heroes versus villains game, I think, because if she doesn't get into a spot where she's made an antagonist at the very beginning of the game, I think she could be quite well positioned here.
Well, she was on the bottom with Tom and Colby, so
Yeah.
she was already like on the wrong foot that way too with the alliance. So I still think she is pre-merge in Heroes versus Villains, but maybe not 19th.
Yeah. It's just that antagonization with James, like the two of them going back and forth, did not help her whatsoever. Not that I'm putting that blame on Stephanie by any means, but I think based on pregame press, like the person she is like most like don't want to work with is Angelina, who's also on this tribe. And like I said with Colby, like kind of has this built-in alliance. So I think we could see like this divide in this tribe of like Colby, Stephanie's group, and Angelina and whatever group she pulls together. So I think it could be really entertaining and it could be some fascinating Survivor gameplay. I just don't know if Stephanie's the one who ends up on top in that altercation.
Yeah, so we are saying should go close to Palau for her game. Is that correct?
I think so. I think that's what she needs to do. She needs to play Palau.
How does she win? I think she just needs a group of strong allies and take the Tom approach of not necessarily dominating the game, but just like have people that will not vote you out and let you know when there's a counter strike against you.
Stephanie gets very dangerous if she ends up playing with Suri in this game.
Yeah, that's true too. Alrighty, we are going to Aubrey, Korong, Game Changers, Edge of Extinction. We have a 2nd, 5th, and 5th boot. Because EOE is whacked and we decided not to deal with placements for that season. But Aubrey is another one of those who just like, we've seen her recently and it's kind of just like had depreciating appearances where it's just like, do we need? But I think this season is going to be like the bow on her story where she can mold it to be however she'd like to work with the game.
I'm so fascinated to see Aubrey play this game because the weirdest thing about Aubrey is that she played 3 seasons in such close proximity to each other with 32, 34, and 38 that she didn't really have enough time to really process her loss to Michelle and Korong before going up for Game Changers. And then even before going to Edge of Extinction again, right? She came off Edge of Extinction, was really embarrassed with her performance. And quite frankly, like, I know I said earlier that like Emily might be the most surprising person on the cast. Aubrey's the most surprising person on this cast because I never thought we would see Aubrey again. Because she said she never wanted to play the game again. She'd already played 3 times. Why would we see Aubrey Bracco back? But she's here. And she feels more ready to play than she did in Korong. And Korong is by far her strongest game.
Yes. So obviously she should emulate her Korong game moving forward. But she needs to, open up a bit more socially and not be so strategic minded, which I think she was getting that way in Game Changers, and she wanted to make that push in Edge of Extinction as well, but just the newbies were not having anything to do with returning players. So Aubrey, as long as she opens herself up to the experience and Survivor a little bit more, and just like sheds the layer and is able to be free and just play the game and not worry about winning, not worry about making it to the end, and just play the game as it comes, which is very counterintuitive to Aubrey. Aubrey is like planning everything out. If she just takes the reverse approach, I think she will be sailing.
Aubrey's role in the Kyle Jason boot cannot be understated. We didn't use it as our defining episode for Aubrey. We used the Debbie boot instead. I think that is like, because I really think that shows her like analysis of it, but her ability to like flip tie in that Kyle Jason boot is so impressive. She has the ability to play socially. She lets her guard down in Edge of Extinction. That's what really happens. Victoria, it dupes her completely. And I don't think Aubrey's going to let that happen again, right? she was voted out with an idol. I don't think that'll ever happen again.
No.
I think that this is someone who, and it's been 7 years since we saw her on the screens, and she has changed a lot since then,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like she's a mom now. She's kind of in this completely different part of her life. She is on a tribe with a bunch of moms. Like she has this ability to really like use that to build connections. I would not be surprised to see Aubrey and Angelina working together. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. So I think Aubrey has this potential to really go far in this game, especially if she's approaching it the same way she approaches Ko Wrong. The downside is she can't completely do that because she doesn't have this underdog story anymore as she did in Ko Wrong.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't think she is going to come into 50 and it'll be the same notes as her other seasons. I do think she has had that learning experience and is able to push forward and navigate this game with a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I think so. If she has fun, she is going.
Aubrey and Rick linking back up.
Even I mean, they spent like what 3 days on Edge of Extinction together.
I think that would be an amazing alliance. Honestly, I think them together with his level of fun, her strategic. I think they could be like, Dr. Joe and Mike, like the coconuts kind of thing of just like shooting the shit, but also they do have some strategy behind them.
I think Aubrey is someone who I expect to go really deep in this game, in all honesty.
Let's hope it's not Game Changers deep where we don't see her at all.
Yes.
All right, let's talk Angelina. David versus Goliath. She plays third. She won't betray Mike, but Christian can go if needed. Angelina is someone everybody has wanted to play for a while now, but on 50, she deserves a spot in 50, but I don't think 50 is going to be her successful game. Like if she were to come back for like a second chance where it's not as much pressure and people are still hungry, but it's like there's a different level of hunger in 50, it feels, for the win. And I think this is not going to be Angelina's best way to come back to Survivor.
I agree, but she's going to be so entertaining.
She's going to be entertaining in whatever season she graces us upon, but like I think she's going to be in a bit over her head for 50.
I think she's over her head if she plays character Angelina. I think if she plays like game player Angelina, she could do really well. I think there's a lot of instances where she like panics in David versus Goliath, like convincing like Dan to play his idol on her and things like that, right? I think there are moments where she gets really paranoid in the game. If she can get over that, and again, this is someone who has gone through so many life changes since the last time we saw her on our screens, she has this ability to potentially go far if she can rally people around her. However, she's one of those players that you're always like, is Angelina just like doing a little too much here? Can we really keep her in the game, or is she too much of a liability? That's where my concerns come from for Angelina.
Yeah, that's a great point. She is very cutthroat and decisive, and she does have this like very go-getter attitude that is very good for the game, but at the same time that also rubs people the wrong way sometimes, and I think that's some of her harm in the game. And also like she hid a fake idol for Allison and people were like maybe we shouldn't do that. So like she has some things where it's like this is going to be a funny joke, right? And it's not exactly a funny joke. So I hope she doesn't do things just for the sake of doing them, like the fake idol.
Yeah, again, I think if she's not performative Angelina and she's just like dialed into the game, I think she's going to do really, really well.
How does
she wins. This is again one of those instances where I think like getting to the merge is so important for Angelina. And don't see it happening because this is probably the disaster tribe. This is a tribe that just like looks like it's not going to win a challenge. Like, I'm sorry, but like it has some people who can perform well in challenges, right? Like if Colby's better than he was in Heroes versus Villains, he'll be fine. Like Stephanie can perform in challenges. Kyle can perform in challenges. Like they have this chance, but like I just don't see Angelina being the one they keep if they do end up going to like 2, 3, 4 tribal councils before the merge.
Agreed. All right, we're going to Genevieve, Survivor 47, 6th place. She understands her growth arc that she went through in 47, but she wants to use that almost as a tool to be able to cut you. She wants to make those relationships, but she is here to play and it doesn't matter to her. She will get any blood on her hands that you need her to get. Like she's out here alone and she said, if you need to use me for a move and don't want to get the blood on your hands, give me the knife.
Yeah, listen, I'm Canadian. I don't feel good for a Canadian representation on this season. I already talked about how I don't think Camilla's in like a great
spot. I'm excited for this one.
I'm so excited for Genevieve. Genevieve is one of my favorite players from the new era. Like, what a fantastic representation for Canada. However, she is in so much danger. I think people just view her as such a threat, and she is a threat. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went a couple episodes into Survivor 47 thinking she was purpled, and then all of a sudden she was like, oh, wait, this is like the most gamiest player we have ever seen. She is completely just like going to dominate this season. And then like gets in the bottom, and like I'm really worried about her ability to make good timing her moves correctly. I think that was one of her big mistakes last time. But I also think like just everyone in this tribe has one eye on Genevieve at all times. I just think like she got a really rough draw for who she's on a tribe with.
Yeah, if she had like a Christian with her, I think that would help because, you know, he's very strategic, but also, you know, I think they would get along well together. I think it's because she is so cutthroat, though. I don't know, because Angelina does have that way about her of just like, let's do it. But I don't know. I do worry for Genevieve, but at the same time, I'm so excited to watch to see what she does in the game because she is someone that could just completely throw a vote into utter chaos because of, you know, saying something to someone. And, you know,
as much as I feel Genevieve's in danger, she's like the only person I'm confident enough that could get out of danger.
Exactly. And she's also no slouch in challenges either. So I think her challenge ability would also be able to, you know, push her forward as well. I mean, Camilla wants to get her out because she's a puzzle person. So there's that. But all right. So how does Genevieve win? I think she just needs to have bigger targets in front of her. She clearly has been able to navigate without an alliance. It would be nice if she had an alliance so she didn't have to worry every vote or have to like make up an Operation Italy to save herself from a vote. But I think if she's able to play a floating game, but just know who to cut at the right moments and have bigger targets in front of her, I think that's how she navigates to the end.
I think she just survived the first vote. I think she survives the first vote. She's in like such a better spot than if she goes. Obviously, I mean, like that's the most obvious thing in the world.
I think she's surviving the first vote.
And I think she has the ability to do that because there are so many big personalities on this tribe. I think there's a potential that Genevieve might be the most threatening person on this tribe, but if she survives that first vote and gets that opportunity to connect with people, she could potentially go deep. I think the most dangerous votes for her are the first vote and the first vote after any swap or merge. Those are the most dangerous spots for Genevieve in the entire game. I also think there is someone on this tribe who I think will be the perfect ally for her, but I'll mention them a little later.
Is it Q?
It's definitely not Q. I think Q is like the worst person to be aligned with in this game.
Well, so Survivor 46, he was 6th place. He is also part of this new parent club. I think Q's main thing that he needs to do in season 50 is don't say I want to quit.
Yeah, that would help.
People in 50 won't defend him for that. No. They won't. Like, I talked about this during hide and seek. People are not going to stick up for Q and be like, you're part of my long-term plans. 50, they're going to find a new plan.
Yeah, I agree. First off, Q's on the same tribe as Aubrey. How wild is that? Like,
that wasn't fantastic. Wild. That was planned.
You knew exactly what you were doing here. How wonderful. But also Q says in his pregame press that like he wants to secretly work with Aubrey if he can. Like because people wouldn't expect him to work together. I think that's great. I like the fact that he in his pregame press when he's trying to explain who he wants to work with, he points out that what was it? Emily like eats beef and drinks Diet Coke or something like that. Or eats pork and Diet Coke. And it's just like he has such an eccentric way of thinking about everything. I think the big question is Q a character or is he a player? And I think character Q might actually get further in the game than player Q.
I think player Q leads to the hybrid of character player Q, and character player Q is very bad for Survivor.
I'm sorry, what?
Just like his Survivor game, he's very like it doesn't help him to be both.
Right.
And I think if he just plays the character and then gets to like final 6 and then turns on the strategy, then I think that'll be able that's how he wins the game. Is I think he needs to be character Q for the majority of the game, go running around with his Q skirt, and then once it gets tight to the end game, be able to maneuver around the people and make the moves that he needs to make.
I absolutely agree. I think he just needs to present himself as completely harmless and the kooky wacky guy out there. I think he needs to vote very loyally to start and not seem eccentric, because I think that is the concern, is that he's eccentric. I think if he just like stays a little calm, goes through the game, is like this kookier guy, and then like turns it on at the end of the game, this is someone who could potentially win this game, which is something wild to say.
All right, that's
wild to say that.
I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I think that's how he wins.
I think it's how he wins, and I think honestly, like, give me Q on my screen as long as possible. I need a coach and Q interaction, so I need at least that long in the game. Well, but that being said, I could also see him getting voted out first.
Yes, I could also see that too. All right, let's move on to Kyle, our season 48 winner. Basically just saw him win and are just like, all right, now he's here on the beach. Great. And that's going to be an interesting thing for Kyle to navigate, that plus his 2 tight relationships of Joe and Camilla. I know some of these groupings of people aren't as close, but Camilla was his number 1, but Joe was right up there with him for like number 1 of that alliance.
Yeah.
So he has people that he doesn't necessarily want to cut. I mean, he might want to cut them, but like innately, like these are his buddies. So it's going to be watching him navigate that is going to be a tall task for him, because Joe takes things to heart. Camilla will understand because he's already had to do it once. But I think that'll be a rough one for Joe if he ever has to do that. But getting out of this winner situation for this first grouping, I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough because he wins 2 weeks before they fly out. It's tough because in winning, people are saying, is Kyle the best winner of the new era? Like, luckily, the person that he's compared to as the best winner in the new era is also on the season, but not on this tribe with him. So that makes him in a very precarious situation here.
Yeah, and I think nobody has seen Savannah play either, and her game was insane too. And and I think they're only missing like Rachel for like the top 4.
Yeah. And Marianne probably.
But people forget about Marianne, which is unfortunate. But like, anywho, Kyle. So he has really great interpersonal skills and has a great social game, is able to make really great bonds. But I think if he also is like Camilla and, wants to go off secretly, that's going to be a major red flag. That plus he's a winner, I think he's toast. I think if they go to the first tribal council, he needs to sit his butt on a log at camp.
There is one real big benefit Kyle has from being on this tribe, and that is they could really use his strength for challenges. And he might be able to skate by a little while by just helping in challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how does Kyle win again? Oof. I don't know.
He has to turn on the charm. The scene in 48 where him and Camilla are talking about being gone, about like holes and stuff, is huge. I still don't know if Holes is Kyle's favorite movie or not, but he is convincing enough that you believe him. If he has that charm and that ability to connect with people on his tribe that way, he could go really far. He's on the younger side of this cast, though. So I don't know if he's going to be able to make those connections with the older cast members. But if he approaches it the same way he does Joe, maybe it works, right? Like, he does have that ability to be like, oh, I worked really loyally with Joe, Colby. Maybe you want to work with me. But he's also a winner. And like, sorry, Kyle, it just kind of sucks you're out here. Like, you're just in a bad spot.
Yeah. Again, like, Kyle does not benefit from the season 50 of it all. I think he would do a lot better on a second chance kind of thing, or a blood versus water, I think would really benefit.
Well, Kyle can't be on a second chance because he won. But
sorry, duh. Like just another
random,
like a random all returnee season where like JT blends in a little bit more in heroes versus villains.
Just being even a little removed from his game would have really helped him.
And that too. I mean, being so close, but again, it's the 50 of it all. You have to go.
100%. Also, when people are saying you're the best winner, like, you don't have to win this season to prove you're the best winner of this era, because you could just,
if you get cut early, you're just like, well, yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here's Genevieve's number one ally. R-I-C-G-O-T, Riz God, baby.
Did you actually know that I was thinking of Rizzo when I said that?
100%.
Yeah, I actually think if Rizzo and Genevieve connect, like, I'm going to be ecstatic, because I actually think they could dominate this game.
Yeah, that would be an insane duo of Rizzo and Genevieve. I think Rizzo is going to be Genevieve's best friend, because I think they both have a big target on them. He obviously played in 49, was the 4th place finisher. And the only thing people know about him is his catchphrase, and he has the biggest Russell Hantz effect, I think, over Savannah, and a lot of people are gunning to vote him out. And so if you can gather Kyle, Genevieve, Rizzo, like the people that are more of the perceived bigger threats or first boot material kind of thing, because they're the unknown or biggest targets, whatever, then that would be a really strong alliance.
People might hate me for saying this, and I'm not saying this because Rizzo has been listening to this podcast longer than like almost anyone who has ever listened to this podcast. I think Rizzo is in actually such a spectacular position going into this season. I think, honestly, he's a very entertaining Survivor character. The fact that he has the Riz God confessional in the season 49 preview, and that's all anyone knows about him, is so beneficial to him. I think there is you have to worry that Colby's like, oh my God, this guy's Russell Hantz, just from like his past experience of having someone come back and like being like, okay, if we all think Savannah won, why is this guy here? What did he do?
I think he could also have the Q effect, though, because of his Riz God confessional, where people are like, oh my gosh, Q's just a little bit crazy. And then Rizzo is here because he could also just be that character. He was that larger than life character, not the guy who hung on to an idol for a million tribal councils in a row and did so many great bluffs, had so many strategic moves, and just lost fire.
But they don't know any of that because
no, I know exactly.
So great.
That's perfect.
I mean, there's a little bit of worry of like, what is Savannah going to tell everyone? But I think he's in this good spot, and I think he's so different than Russell Hantz. He's not going to come off as Russell Hantz.
No, he just goes up to Colby and is just like, oh my gosh, you're the best. I love you. You were such a loyal guy. It just says like what Colby
promise I was born when you were on TV the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think doing that would definitely disarm Colby and not necessarily like ego boost people, but just say like, I'm a fan, and where Russell is just like, I'm going to push you over, and Rizzo can kind of act like a bit of a pushover, where even though he's not, but like he can like take the hits.
Rizzo just needs to play like the little brother role this entire season.
The son, the little brother, whatever it is.
If he does that, it's going to benefit him so much. He gets to be the super fan. He gets to kind of fall into like this Eric Reichenbach role on this season, right? Where he's like the super fan and he's playing with all these legends and everything. But we also know he has incredible strategic chops and like cojones to sit there with an idol as long as possible.
Yes.
Right? He is, and I always go back to his rice, like the rice negotiation thing that he says of, I can have rice in 7 days. I'm not going to have a chance at a 1 in 6 chance of $1 million or a 1 in 7 chance at $1 million, right? This is someone who thinks placement 24 to 2 is the same position. He is going to play to win the game, and I am so excited for it. I did not think I would ever be such a huge Rizzo stan, but he is one of my favorite Survivor players of the new era.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'm just worried about his bravado, especially with like the idol stuff that went on in 49, that I don't think that's going to work here in 50, and people are going to call you out on it, and there's enough people to split a vote.
You know what? If he finds an idol and just like doesn't tell anyone about it, that could be incredibly beneficial for him.
That too. But I think he has upside if he gets his footing and gets around the 49 of it all. So how does he win? I think honestly plays a very similar game to the way he played in 49 and just watches his back for those people that might be thinking that he's got to go and has to go now, because his challenge performance isn't the strongest. He's fine in a tribe challenge. He's never like dragged any of the tribe challenges down
unless he's on a puzzle.
As long as he's not on a puzzle. But he's never driven them down that way. But so like maybe he's not looked at the first boot, but I would worry about him being a first boot over a lot of people on this tribe, because it's the 49, and if he doesn't do amazing in any of the challenges, then why keep him?
Yeah, I think he looks like a scrawny guy, and I think that could be detrimental for him.
Because he was just out there 2 days ago.
Yes, but he was also just out there like a week before this filmed. Like he's still in game mode, right? He is still able to think strategy and stuff. I think the most dangerous players on this season for someone like Rizzo is someone like Suri. I think Suri is the type of person who would be able to clock how dangerous Rizzo is. But I think you get Rizzo with Genevieve, I think that's a great pairing. You get Rizzo with someone like Coach, my God. Like, let me tell you how amazing that would be. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's going to go a lot further than people expect in this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here on finale night being like, there's a very good chance Rizzo wins this game.
Well, everyone, that has been our cast assessment here. This is John and my show. Every Friday, we talk the outwit, outplay, outlast moments of the episode you just watched of season 50. We look at the episode that is currently airing and relate it to past moments. So if you liked celebrating Survivor, if you liked the cast assessment and looking and harkening on past games, that is definitely the show for you. So tune in on Friday when we talk the premiere of season 50, which is crazy to say. But we are so excited.
We are. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We have so much stuff. Like, you thought the season 50 preseason content was huge. We have so much more coming for you. Obviously, the premiere is on Wednesday. Phil and Will are going to be here talking it through. But before that, even Phil and McKenna have to talk Australian Survivor.
Listen, we got the premiere of that too coming up. Traders finale at some point this week. We have predictions on Tuesday.
We have the new like prop bet game that Phil is going to make weekly. He'll be joined by Russell Muscle TV tomorrow to do that. It's going to be a weekly game. Whoever accumulates the most points over the season will win a Funko Pop from Todd Herzog. And I mean, Tegwa's coming back with Matt Chat. We have Digging Deeper, which will have guests all season. We have the Power Rankings on Sundays, which will have guests all season. Mm-hmm. Plus, there's so much more content over on Patreon as well. So make sure you become a patron. Patreon.com /The Specialist. McKenna and I talk about what an episode from Survivor Yonder every week on there. There's Every Season Matters. There's so many different things on there. So check it out. There is so much content available for all of you for Survivor 50, and we are so excited to share it with you.
And we will see you after season 50 premieres with another episode of the Survivor Rewind. Goodbye, everyone.